let's bring everybody to speed. Ne? You were Mpho Maboi, and then what happened?
I was in Mpho Maboi for like all my life, and then I got married to this fellow for like 2 years, and I changed my surname to Litsulonyane. And then after 2 years, I was like, I don't like the surname. I want my surname back. It sounds better. I'm joking.
So look, I love that so many of the ladies that come here are so comfortable. What was that moment for you that you're like, oh, I think this is it?
It was my birthday, weirdly enough.
What?
702.
The upside of failure.
Sometimes failure is the foundation of greatest success stories.
You look exceptionally beautiful today.
Thank you. It is my birthday.
And it is your birthday. And I thought to myself that, did you see your things?
That was the most amazing touch ever.
Wait, you have to tell everybody because they don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, so I walk in at reception and I'm like, okay, I'm here for the upside of failure with Relebogile Mabotja. And then as I look up, I see this massive picture of myself, this poster saying that I am going to be on the show. It literally, my face lit up.
You look so beautiful, and I know you were sharing that this is 43.
Yes.
And I'm all for loving ladies who are owning their ages, because us 80s babies are not going to be shamed for anything. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Another year around the sun.
Right?
And you look amazing, and you're still doing what you love to do.
I know.
What
a blessing.
And I realized the last time you and I together, you were interviewing me. There by our national broadcaster, our previous employer.
Isn't that insane though? Yeah. How everything just always goes full circle.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you reminded me of that, because I had been trying to think, when was the last time I actually saw Relebogile?
It was
has
then.
been a while.
But I don't know. I think there was some event possibly that I might have thought I saw you walking past me at, but
I know which one.
Which one?
You were emceeing the Tastic event with Tandiswa. I know exactly which one.
My gosh.
And you looked amazing.
Thank you.
And you did such a brilliant job, as always.
But I get excited when I'm speaking to women who, you are in the space of sport, which it still is. It's quite a speciality. Like, I'm not even trying to dabble in that space. Respect to all of you as the lady broadcasters, just carving out spaces for yourself, and you do exceptionally well, and I'm so proud of you. So I'm like, let me start there before I get into the depths of the depths. For those of you who don't know, you can head over to 702.co.za or head over to our YouTube channel. We are visual, guys. We are a visual medium and platform. We aren't live streaming, but we do have our interviews in video format. And even if you've heard the conversation, it does help to go and watch it. So this also will be recorded. And the team and I have been speaking about having you for a while. And what I love about this feature is it's quite a timeless feature in my eyes, but I also believe in perfect timing. I just was like, when we realized it aligned with your birthday, we're like, hello.
I know, when your producer called me and we spoke about possible dates, I was like, I'm not sure if I want to come on the 22nd because it's my birthday. She says, of course you have to come on your 22nd because it's your birthday. I was like, okay, then we have to come. But also, I must say, I've been very nervous about today.
Why?
You know, when you're a broadcaster and you have to sit on the other side.
I know the feeling.
You know what I mean? And also being interviewed by somebody that you absolutely adore and absolutely hold in high esteem. I hold you in very high esteem. I think you're one of the best broadcasters there is, especially for this lunchtime slot, because I've always looked at the lunchtime slot as one that has to have somebody who's very bubbly, who's very approachable, somebody who has that mothering skill as well, but also who can call you to order without making you feel, without infantilizing you, you know, if I'm making sense. So you have that, like, man, approachable, man, and I love it. And then there's that laughter. There is that laughter that makes you want to laugh along with you.
Do you get and I get that feeling completely of the not knowing.
Yeah.
So when you're now the guest on the show and then you're like, where's my earpiece? I also want to
Yes,
hear what the director's saying. I also want to see the
Driving
script.
here, I thought about my earpiece. I was like, do I have my earpiece? Did I forget my earpiece?
It's such a weird feeling. So it just got me wondering, do you think all broadcasters have an incessant need to be in control?
Oh, yes. We are absolute control freaks. Because I know for a fact, even when I am on Supersport and I'm not the anchor, but I am the guest, I will bring my earpiece because I want to know what the director is saying to you. If I'm talking too much and I'm taking too long before we go to an ad break, I want to hear that.
You see, they say we are the worst guests
No, we
because
are.
we always want to know, like, what I drive cameramen with is when I go there and I'm like, just tell me how wide you are so I know how to sit and which angle. They say, Lawan, Luna, the broadcast.
It's a problem.
Do you have a favorite medium yet? And I get asked this question often. Are you preferring television? Are you preferring radio? Like, do you have a favorite medium? And if so, why?
To be honest, I think radio has always been my first love because I can be more myself on radio as opposed to television, because television, one, I am doing something that is very, as you mentioned, a speciality. So your personality is there, but only a smidgen of your personality can come across because you still have to stick to facts. You have to get the important information across. So personality-wise, not so much. And also I find when I do watch myself, I criticize myself more because I criticize how I speak. I'm like, why did I make that face? Why am I standing like that? Oh my God, look at my fupa. It has come out in all its glory. Wow. So I find I criticize myself a lot more on television. So with radio is fun. Even though, as you mentioned earlier, we've brought out all these different platforms when it comes to radio. Before, you would be invited for a radio interview and you could come
You
here in
can
your
come in your
pajamas
slip- yes.
and it would be okay. Now you must be on fleek
Yes.
because you don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, it's
So
going to
that's
go
changed it.
everywhere and it's going to live there forever.
Exactly. So even my sister, when I said, oh, Relebogile has invited me, she says, listen, this is on YouTube, okay? You better look okay. Because it's going to live there forever. I was like, it's on YouTube? She's like, yes. I'm like, but I listen She's like, yes, you listen. We watch.
I love that. And I mean, it's crazy because now that all the work we're doing is going into the digital sphere. I mean, I saw there was a video that people were talking about yesterday, like it just happened. But somebody tagged me and it was from my talk show, which is on YouTube. But they were speaking like, yo. And then one person's like, guys, this is old. Like, no, it's new to us.
Yes.
And I was like, isn't it crazy that things can get a new life over and over again? Do you think for yourself personally that's more of a negative than it is a positive? Because again, you spoke about the watching yourself, and sometimes like what we're doing now is very much in the moment. But if I were to scrutinize, I mean, I would be so terrified to come back on air on Monday.
I know, right? I think it is both a positive and a negative. A positive because this morning I was listening to Clement Manyatela and he was
Yes.
going back to 2008, the things that Thabo Mbeki was saying.
Yes.
And I'm like, guys, we're allowed to change our minds.
Yes.
You know, a view I held about a specific topic 6 months ago could change now because of whatever view I might have had or experience I might have
new
had, a conversation I
information,
might have had, new
yes.
information that's now come to the fore. But people tend to feel as though because something has been immortalized in the digital space, then that means that view that you held in 2008, it still holds water today. And you're like, I'm not that person anymore.
And the thing is, people will hold on to that
They do.
clip,
They
right?
do.
Waiting for the moment.
To use it.
And there's somebody that I interviewed not so long ago, very high profile. And now, because of what's happening in the media about her, they're pulling snippets out of that interview that happened prior to what's happening to give it a new context that is not even related. And that's the scary part. with it. So I get what you're saying about the hold, because now people are going to say, how, Mpho?
Yeah.
This you, girl?
Yeah.
This you?
You're like, I really like Relebogile. And somebody says, but in 2012, you said about Relebogile. And you're like, I don't even remember saying that.
Yes.
But they don't forget.
Do you get annoyed with the title personality? Because
No,
do you feel like it takes away from you being like, guys, I'm actually a broadcaster?
I get annoyed with the term celebrity.
Why?
Because I feel like in this country, I'm not a celebrity.
What is it?
Like, I feel like if we're getting down to the gist of it, the last celebrity we had was Madiba. We don't really have celebrities because, I mean, I live in a certain complex. I live in an estate, and right next door is Relebogile. So, I mean, you know
So
what
what
I mean?
for you is a celebrity?
For me, it's a celebrity is somebody that is known everywhere,
Yes.
right? You never ever have to introduce yourself except out of Ubuntu, just basic Ubuntu.
Yes.
But you walk everywhere, and in fact, you cannot walk anywhere.
Yes.
That for me is a celebrity. When you have that basic right to go and do your groceries has been taken away from you
Yes.
because everybody knows who you are. For me, that is the epitome of a celebrity. In this country, I mean, we all go to the shops and
We're there
we
bumping
buy-
into each other, getting bread.
Do you get
Go
what I
check us.
mean?
Trying to grab the same Albany.
You know what I mean? And then you get there and I want to say shop steward, but not shop steward. What is it?
The cashier.
The cashier says
Yes.
to you, "You look familiar."
Mhm.
I mean, really.
For me, the best is, how? I thought you were taller. Okay.
I get that all the time.
Because you and I really shorty. So they also say that.
So the personality thing, I'm always like, whatever. In this country, everyone who happens to be in the broadcast space, even those with blogs,
Yes.
are called personalities.
Yes.
So it is what it is.
So let's chat briefly just when you were growing up. What was failure to you, and what was your understanding of failure? And I'm talking early years,
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8.
I grew up with a very strict father and a very academically driven father. So for me, failure was, I was a goody two shoes growing
Yes.
up. I was always that kid who would stick to the rules and never goes out of hand and so on and so forth. So disappointing my parents in any way, shape or form was always a form of failure for me. And then when I started school, because also I started so early, for my dad, it was always being below par in his words, you know, because later in life I became almost like a straight A student because my dad was that person who would say, "Oh, you got a 98. That's great. What happened to the other 2%?" And you're sitting there like, "How, Batong? But everybody got 60s and I got..." And he's like, "So if everybody jumped off of a cliff, would you also jump?" So that made me that kid that was always very highly strung. Because I always felt like I can't really just be a kid. And then to make matters worse, back in those days, it wasn't deemed as child abuse, but now it's seen as child abuse. You take care of your siblings. You know, when your parents have to go
Deputy parent.
do you get what I mean? So when your parents have to go do the grocery shopping or whatever the case may be, you are that kid that is left with the other kids. And dare anything happen to those kids, you were liable. You know what I mean? So your childhood is almost taken away from you, but you don't see it at the time. It's only in later years when I started going through therapy and my therapist said to me, "Shoo, your inner child is in distress."
Well, I was about to, the first thing that came to mind when you were speaking was, where are your anxiety levels at in life in general?
But you don't see it when you're going through it every
Yeah.
day. Up until that moment, you sit with a therapist and your therapist is like, "You're highly strung. Hey, you're a very highly strung individual. When do you have fun?" And you're like, "What do you mean? I read." And she's like, "That's not fun. When I say fun, I mean let loose and not really care what people think of you." It was only in after 35 that I stopped caring what people thought about me. I'd always been a people pleaser. I'd always worried, you know, if I wear this, if I do this, if I say that, what are people going to say? And coming back to my parents, I'd always try to manage how I am perceived in public so as to never embarrass my parents.
No, because you're a reflection of your household. You're the representative of the family. But in your mind, what was the worst that could happen? As in, if, you already know failure is not what the school has set it out to be, which I think in our day was 50% and not the 12%
Not the 33%.
that it is today. But in your mind, what was the worst that could happen? What were you afraid of?
As you say that distinctly, I remember I think I was in standard 7, which is grade 9 now. Standard 7 is hard, guys. It's very hard.
And because you're doing it.
You know what I mean? And I failed a term. I didn't fail the year. I failed a term. All because my English marks were not up to scratch. Do you know, I actually took my report card, because back in those days it wasn't digital. I took my report card and I chuffed it like tropo.
Yes,
like
at the top.
At the top in the wardrobe. And for the longest time, I could not bring myself to show that report card to my parents. And my parents would be like, oh, school holidays now. Where's your report card? You're like, no. They said we're not going to get it. We're going to get it.
Yes.
Because I could not bring myself to actually show my parents that I'm a failure. I have failed you, because my biggest fear in life, it has happened now in my later years, but my biggest fear in life then was my parents having, one, nothing to brag about, because my dad has been the biggest braggart with regards to me for the longest time. And two, having my parents explain themselves to anyone within the family because of me.
Yo. and do you think is that a reflection of your worth because your identity was so attached to your success?
Oh, yes.
Because if the success is not there, who are you? Who are you?
Yeah. And I agree completely, because if you are not that Mpho who's an overachiever, if you're not a Mpho who comes out number 1 in class, if you're not Mpho who is also an athlete and doing very well in school, if you're not a Mpho who's in the choir, so your parent, when they go amongst their peers, they have nothing to talk about.
You are gonna be at least. At least she's respectful.
You know what I mean?
At least she's respectful.
So your worth is always attached to a particular title. It took me the longest time, and this was with the guidance of my sister, to say to me, I've been looking at your profile over the years. Whenever somebody says, can you send us your profile? Can you send us your bio? The first thing you place is, I'm a mother. She says, that is not who you are. Who are you? And it took me the longest time to actually be like, wow, if I'm not a mother, then what am I? And then I got to a point where I was a wife, and that was the title that was put there, and that got taken away. You're like, okay, we need to investigate. Who are we?
And it's a hard one.
It's a very difficult one.
I can't recall who was asking this question in some type of workshop many years ago. And they said, who are you? And a lot of people are like, I'm a sister. And they're like,
Take the titles away.
Not even just the titles. Take away the relation to other human beings.
Yeah, hence I'm saying titles. Even sister is a title.
Take that out. And to struggle to answer that.
It's hard.
Do you find, or did you find that when you were younger, you were not allowed to rest? Because what are you doing resting? And now as an adult, the same people who didn't let you rest are like, why don't you rest? And then you're like, because you never allowed me to.
It's the funniest thing, because it's only now, after I had been a wife, that I realized that my mother had been doing something for so many years that I internalized subconsciously. Right? So my mother, God bless her soul, has always been, her love language is taking care of other people. So she would be the one who would clean and cook and whatnot and whatnot. And then she would be like, I'm so tired, and decide to take a lie down on the couch. But the moment you would hear the gate opening and my dad is home, my mom would get up. She would get up and sit up, and either she would get busy around the house or whatever the case may be, but she would not have my dad find her just sitting around doing nothing. And that, at some point I asked her, and she said it's because we're raised to be caregivers. And when you are just sitting around, you're lazy. And no one wants to be seen as that lazy wife or that lazy mother, you know? So I had internalized that at some point, and I literally went through burnout.
Now somebody on Twitter's like, who's that? I don't recognize the surname. I'm going to ask you about that in a moment. First, let's go to Lulu from Krugersdorp. Lulu, go ahead.
Hi, how are you guys?
We're good, thank you.
Hi, no, I just wanted to say hi to Mpho. How are you for happy birthday?
Are you good?
I'm good. You're a birthday baby like me. Mine is tomorrow.
Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you. No, I just wanted to say I listened to you, if I'm not mistaken, from YFM.
Yes.
Since growing up, and you fought for, women in sports. So I've always loved hearing your opinions, even though too much.
Thank you so much. But you're making me feel so old. You've been listening to me since you were growing up.
Yeah, I can
She makes it sound like
Lulu.
away.
Oh, next door. You are next door, Lulu. Please, you are next door. We've got a special Mbali. Hi, Mbali. How are you doing?
Hi.
Go ahead and pause listening.
Hey, Mphos.
Hi, Mbali.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday
Stunning.
to you.
Woo! Fine, girl.
I'm trying to channel my inner Maxwell in preparation for this weekend. So I'm
Done.
practicing on you.
Done. I love it. Thank you so very much.
Happy birthday, Mpho. I was listening to you in the morning and you were saying, I'm off. I'm coming back on Wednesday. I'm like, yes, girl. You do you, because I know you're one person who's always big on birthdays. You celebrate your birthday.
Indeed.
But for me, I just wanted to say, Mpho, happy birthday. You're such an amazing person, I think I don't even remember when I met you, but I know I met you over the years.
Yeah.
And I love that you've always been just so warm, so welcoming. Whenever I need advice, you're just always there. I remember you came through for my podcast. You just showed up. We went to Qatar together last year. Listen.
So you are a full-on super sport colleague of Mpho Maboi.
Yes.
And what would you say about her work ethic?
Listen,
Someone doesn't want her talking about my work ethic.
You cut for a second. Please start again. We lost you for a second. Yes. So what do you want to say about her work ethic?
I'm saying that I've never sat down and listened to Mpho and I thought, this girl does not make sense. Listen, when someone talks and they just command attention and you literally hear that this person is well prepared, they know what they're talking about, they eat, breathe, live this thing. It makes you, a person who's also in the industry, just enjoy listening to them. And you learn a lot from them as well. So for me, passion is not really what you see. It's really the amount of work you put behind the scenes. And then the hard work is translated on screen. So for me, it's just, it's just showing what the amount of work she puts in behind the scenes, and her being in the industry for so long, the fruits are showing, the fruits are manifesting. And Mpho's phethe kahle. So I've never heard weird things about Mpho as well. And I think that's why we just get along as well, So I think I just learn a lot from her, and she's like that big sister person,
So
like
sweet.
Listen, that mother muscle must practice at work, ne? So
Yes.
that at home it is together. How does it feel hearing a colleague and somebody who knows you personally
She's so
saying such
amazing.
things?
She's so amazing. I love hearing people say such good things about me, because sometimes I do have like a little bit of imposter syndrome, and I'm like, I've been here for so long, but there are times when I question even my knowledge and question my own abilities. So it's nice to hear people singing your praises and saying that they look up to you. It means you're doing something.
Definitely. How do you I don't like using the word stay relevant, because it almost makes it frivolous. But what is the key to your staying power in still being somebody that people want to work with? still being somebody, in the era we're in where the standards are changing, the expectation is to be young and cute, and what's your following on social media?
Yeah. I think for me, that's always been a very difficult question, because I've never gone out to try and achieve fame or try and achieve, I don't know, anything outside of just me doing my work and me being me and me having fun. And I think that is what people like, because even when I'm doing a sports broadcast, I always have a massive smile on my face, and you can see I'm having fun.
Yes.
So I think it's that energy that people gravitate towards. And as Umbali was just saying now, I try, and I'm very controversial, but I try and stay away from as much controversy as I can. My opinions are controversial, but I try not to be controversial. If I'm making sense, it's like an oxymoron.
No, you are making sense. And a message on the WhatsApp line says, it feels like Mpho has been describing my childhood through and through.
Wow.
Do you think you are suffering any sort of post-traumatic stress disorder?
Oh, yeah. I saw a tweet the other day and I was like, that is me. Someone said, how do you know that someone has experienced a lot of trauma in their lives? And the response was, they have a great sense of humor.
Wait? This is how aligned you and I are. Can I read you what's on my WhatsApp status?
Yeah.
My WhatsApp status says, if I don't turn it into a joke, it will destroy me.
Of course. And that is an absolute fact. That is an absolute fact. We find a way of seeing the humor in something that that if you don't pause, if you do pause, you're going to break.
We love to ask our guests about different experiences they may have had in their lives that society looks at as failure, that one can look at when they're going through it as failure.
Yeah.
And we talk through it and look at the lessons that have come out of it. Now, I have shared many a time of many a guest that there's certain things I don't see as failure, though I can see why they are necessary topic of discussion in that context.
Yeah.
What happened with the surname, Mrs.?
I find it so weird that people are attached to that surname. I literally had it for 2 years. Literally.
So let's bring everybody to speed. Né? You were Mpho Maboi, and then what happened?
I was in Mpho Maboi for like all my life, and then I got married to this fellow for like 2 years, and I changed my surname to Litsulonyane, and then after 2 years, I was like, I don't like the surname. I want my surname back. It sounds better. I'm joking.
So look, I love that so many of the ladies that come here are so comfortable to speak about separations and divorces with me.
Yeah.
And sometimes people think, why do you keep forcing people? I'm like, no,
we actually volunteer
to share this with. So I know just from, and this is just from an outside perspective, you were all in not just how you lived being a family woman, a wife woman. You proudly showed it out there, which obviously makes it 10 times harder. Did you release a statement announcing, or you didn't release a statement? Now, at some point, what was it that happened? And I'm going to ask the question differently to how I usually do. What was the moment for you? And the reason I'm comfortable enough to ask what the moment was, because it's never a big thing. People think marriage ends because, he was cheating. It's not. It's more often than not a big thing.
Yeah.
But what was the moment? Were you like in the bath where you were like, nah? Like, what was that moment for you that you were like, oh, I think this is it?
It was my birthday, weirdly enough.
What?
It was my
and
birthday.
That was how many years ago?
So we got divorced fully we're in 2023, 2001. So by the time everybody got to know about it, it was done.
Wait, 2021?
Yeah.
2021.
Yes,
Okay,
not
you said 2000.
Sorry.
I was like
2021.
I was
sorry.
like, wow, girl.
No, 2021. That's when we got divorced. So by the time that character made it a spectacle, it was already done.
I even missed the spectacle. What was the spectacle?
The spectacle was Musa Kaula telling everybody that I got divorced because apparently my ex is broke. So even that was news to me. I was like, oh, I didn't know he's broke. that's a reason to get divorced, really? Where there are children involved, really? Okay. Anyway, if that's what you want to run with,
Yes,
great.
cool.
You know,
Yes.
because I think also the fact that we had gotten divorced and had been quiet about it, people assumed that there has to either be a third party involved or it has to be about money. And you sit there thinking, for many of people's lives, I've been either in your ear or in your face.
No, bottom line, you have your own thing going.
But that's what I'm saying. So you know my career. You've seen me, you've heard me. And to then chalk everything down to, I just got married for money, was so disrespectful to me.
Yes.
And disrespectful to every woman out there. But at the same time, what I read out of that was, black people, we don't know love, hey? For us, love to make sense, especially with somebody that everyone assumes you shouldn't be with in the first place, is that they could only be getting married because there's money.
But actually, I even want to dismiss any narrative that is not your own.
Yeah.
In your reality, sitting here now, and a birthday is a beautiful reflective time. So you then say it was on your birthday that you realized.
Yes. So I say to people, the worst thing that could have happened to my marriage was marriage itself. I still firmly believe that had we never gotten married, we would probably still be together.
Why?
Marriage changes everything. It changes how people view you. It changes how family views you. It just changes everything. The dynamics change. Whether you like it or not, the dynamics will change. And
Is it the expectations that now a person can say, but you are my wife or but you are my husband?
just now I saw a tweet that said, I'm not trying to control people, but there are certain things you cannot post when you have a partner. Things like that, where you are expected to change. And the funniest thing is, like, for instance, people will say you can't be a groovist when you're married. And it's like, but if I'm grooving with my partner and that's what we enjoy, why do you feel that I shouldn't be a groovist? If my partner is okay with it, whether you're okay with it is neither here nor there. So for me, sitting on this day, reflecting, I remember feeling very sad and feeling as though this is not what I wanted in this beautiful thing that I held so near and dear to me. This is not going how I had wanted it to go. And the first thought that came into my mind was, do you want to spend the next 20, 30, 40 years feeling like this?
So if then you're saying the worst thing that happened to my marriage is marriage, why was dissolving the marriage not fixing the issue? Is it that you had already passed the point of no return?
Because as well, the thing I've learned in hindsight, but hindsight is 2020.
Yes.
You have cracks or red flags that you see, but women live in hope. We have this belief that no, when you get married, everything will be okay. Like marriage is miraculously going to be this bandage that's going to fill up all the cracks. But marriage does the opposite.
Amplifies.
These cracks become wider.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing things and you're like, but you're not doing A, B, C, and D. You're not doing that. You're not doing that. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm not, I'm changing. I'm becoming someone that I myself am not recognizing anymore. And my biggest thing, I love to be happy. And I found myself more and more constantly saying to him, I'm not happy. But at the same time, I could not quite put a finger on exactly what it is that was making me unhappy. And I was like, I don't think this is working. And shame, we did try. It was not for a lack of trying. We did try family meetings and all of that, but it just was not working.
So when you look back at all you have been through, what is the lesson you have learned about failure? And I don't think a marriage ending is failure.
It's
I think
not.
some things run
We
their
break up
their
all the
course.
time, guys.
Yes.
Even with friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
What would you like to share with everybody you have learned about failure?
We are often very hard on ourselves. That's been the biggest thing about failure. And I remember when we were going through this divorce process, one of the things I did worry about was, so how are people going to perceive this now? I went through practically an entire year after my divorce. And it's the weirdest thing because we officially got divorced on Valentine's Day.
That's a different kind of celebration.
I know, right?
Yes.
So having gone through that, I went through practically an entire year of being afraid to change my surname.
I was about to say, the day you changed your surname
Was the
online,
day everything blew up.
my goodness. I would love to continue talking to you, but we have run out of time.
Yeah.
I absolutely just love how you carry yourself. Please just stay real and candid. Your longevity, I think, is because of your authenticity, and we'll continue to relate to that and love that. And you are just so fabulous, and thank you for coming through and honoring the invite.
Thank you so much for
And
having me.
happy, man, I will happy.
702.
The upside of failure.
Sometimes failure is the foundation of greatest success stories.